Welcome to the deep dive. We've got the sources for the first week of 2026. That's December 29th through January 4th. And we are jumping into it feet first.
Feet first is right. There's no gentle transition here. It feels like the universe has pretty much enrolled all of us in a mandatory boot camp on self-awareness.
Yeah, and integrity, too. But it's an intense start that also feels, incredibly productive.
It is. The sources are really clear that the central mission for this week is about setting the tone for the year. But, and this is a huge warning, it is not about setting everything in stone.
That's such a crucial distinction, right? So we're not talking about those rushed surface-level resolutions that you forget by February.
Exactly. This is about building a deep foundation, one that's built on honesty. It demands real emotional awareness to go along with all the practical planning.
I love that phrase the sources use, that we have to develop emotional skill.
And that skill is, well, that's the whole complexity of this transition, isn't it? We're being challenged to look at all the ways we self-sabotage, often without even realizing it.
To spot where we are, and I'm quoting here, shrinking, rationalizing, overfunctioning, and pretending the body can survive on caffeine and avoidance.
Mm-hmm. And that's a tough inventory to take.
It is. And it feels like it's amplified by all this energy from the wounded healer, Chiron, which can stir up so much insecurity.
Right. And on top of that, there's this potential for, confusion, unexpected delays with travel or communication. It's like the universe is forcing us to slow down.
Forcing us to say, hey, you need to feel this and process it before you can actually launch.
Precisely. If you skip the feeling part and jump to the action, you're just going to end up back at the starting line anyway.
Okay, so let's unpack the start of the week, Monday and Tuesday. We jump right into some pretty immediate mental friction with Mercury squaring Saturn.
Yes. If we're trying to build a new foundation, this feels like the universe sending in a very stern, very critical inspector to check the work.
Ah, that's a perfect analogy.
Yeah.
The sources call it optimism meets quality control.
And it specifically targets your long-term goals, your biggest responsibilities. So you might feel some doubt creeping in, but that doubt, it's not malicious. It's there to clarify.
Okay, so if I start the year thinking, I'm going to launch this huge new project, and then suddenly I'm slammed with all these doubts, I shouldn't just abandon the idea.
No, absolutely not. The sources say to lean into that doubt, not run away from it. Saturn is just challenging your thinking. It's forcing you to sharpen it, to clarify your priorities, to enhance your whole strategy.
So if my plan can survive that kind of structural critique, it's probably solid.
Exactly. If you run from it now, those same doubts are just going to resurface later when the stakes are much, much higher.
So the goal is to stop taking our initial ideas at face value and start, demanding citations from ourselves.
That's the tension. You have the strong urge to proclaim a new belief. It's that New Year energy. But at the same time, there's this resistance demanding proof.
It's like wanting to publish a manifesto while demanding sources, citations, and proper grammar.
That's it. So practically, what does that mean? Well, you shouldn't avoid difficult conversations, but you have to be prepared.
You rehearse the point, not the anger.
Yes. Use this time to brainstorm, to prepare the structure. Don't finalize anything yet. Focus on the facts. Clarity is on our side, but only if we do that structural work first.
So we spend Monday and Tuesday tightening up our strategy, but that mental discipline gets a real challenge midweek. How does all that structure survive the mental haze of Mercury square Neptune on Thursday?
Yeah. Thursday is the test. The sources warn that the day might just feel completely befuddled.
Befuddled, I like that word.
Facts get slippery, memory gets creative. This is where projection walks in claiming to be truth.
And that's dangerous. That's when we might trust someone giving us hope instead of, accuracy, or even tell ourselves a convenient lie.
Exactly. This energy just dissolves the boundaries between what's real and what's fantasy. So the practical advice here is vital.
Use the haze for imagination, for art, for music, but tie down anything that requires a reality check.
Yes. The instructions are so specific. Do not sign something we don't understand.
Do not confess love because a playlist gave us ideas.
Exactly. Recognize that surge for what it is. Inspiration, not necessarily fact. Just wait 48 hours before you commit to anything major.
Thankfully, it's short-lived. By the end of Thursday, we get this huge shift. Mercury moves into Capricorn until January 20th.
And the sources call this the mental adult enters the room.
I think we all need that.
I think so. It's this sudden, almost immediate reclamation of your mental authority. After all that confusion, the mind just demands substance, stability, structure.
The focus shifts to long-term commitments, right? Career, goals, health.
All the frivolous mental chatter just kind of drops away.
So that structural work we were doing earlier finally gets the steady energy it needs. I was real struck by that phrase that our thoughts carry ancestral magic. What does that mean, practically?
It means we're aligning with a deeper sense of purpose, not just surface desires. That ancestral magic is the stability, the wisdom, the longevity, and the choices we're making now.
So the plans we make are built to last.
They are. They honor your lineage, not just some fleeting trend. And this is what allows us to deactivate those patterns that are just, running on autopilot.
The habits and decisions we make out of fear or survival or just routine.
Yes. The mental adult enters the room and you finally see them for what they are. You see, they don't serve the person you're becoming. That clarity forces a realignment.
This internal alignment brings us right to Friday, and another huge moment. Chiron turns direct in Aries. This feels like it's all about action.
It is. It is the shift from reflection to implementation. Chiron direct puts our self-care and, more importantly, the root cause of our fears front and center.
We're dealing with things head on now.
Right. No more dancing around the issues.
But the sources warn that for us to step into that power, our old triggers have to flare up first. That sounds messy.
It is messy. It's meant to be. It's the exposure of our defensive, repetitive, maybe even childish patterns. The ways we protect ourselves, overthinking, hesitating, they suddenly become so obviously unhelpful.
So if we've been using a wound as a reason not to act,
Chiron direct demands we use the lessons from the wound to motivate action instead.
so the vulnerability we're feeling on Friday is actually the key to moving forward. The decision we make, this is what we do with our vulnerability, tells the story of who we are becoming.
That is the core mandate of the day. You can't retreat into that overfunctioning behavior we talked about. This transit just shines a light on where we've been shrinking so others feel comfortable.
Or where we've been quietly negotiating our right to exist.
In a job, in a relationship, anywhere.
So what's the first step? If you realize you've been shrinking, what's a small thing you can do?
The smallest step is often just saying no and not explaining why. Just no. Use that mental authority you just reclaimed and make a firm decision you've been avoiding. The goal is to act.
Okay, all of this intense work leads us to the emotional climax of the week on Saturday. The full moon in Cancer. And this is a supermoon, right?
It is. So its power is magnified, shining this huge light on home, family, and emotional security.
And since it's closing out the week, it's designed to, drag up any lingering emotional residue carried over from 2025.
That's the idea. It exposes those inherited habits, the family patterns we've been denying, or just rationalizing away as the way things are.
So the goal is to clear that emotional debris so we don't carry the old weight into the new year. But full moons can be painful. What makes this one so charged?
Well, we have to look at the dynamics. This moon is opposite Venus and Mars.
So our emotional security is being pulled against our desires and our actions.
Exactly. It creates this huge tension between what we want inside and what we've been tolerating on the outside.
That sounds like a recipe for setting some major boundaries or conflict.
It can be. It forces us to confront that deep question. Why did we think that performing competence was a substitute for emotional truth?
Oof. That one hits home.
Yeah. We show up as capable, hoping the effort we're putting in will somehow signal the emotional cost. But it doesn't work that way. Emotional truth requires vulnerability.
And the emotional volume is turned up even more, because the full moon is also conjunct Jupiter.
Yes, Jupiter expands everything it touches, so it turns up the emotional volume just enough, so we're forced to see the real story beneath our reactions.
We get this massive expansion of awareness.
Right. You might suddenly recognize a pattern of inherited anxiety or a family loyalty that's costing you way too much. And even if you can't act on it immediately, that insight is invaluable.
And the sources mention that with all this internal resetting, we'll probably feel a push to, clear out clutter at home.
That's the body trying to make the external space match the internal reset. It's all connected.
Right.
Clearing internal debris, clearing external debris. It's about building an honest foundation, inside and out.
To really ground this for everyone, let's look at the StoryScope synthesis. We're following Ruth, Miriam, and Caleb, and their story just perfectly illustrates how all these energies play out.
Yeah, this family starts the week in that quiet, tense space of Mercury square Saturn. They desperately need to be honest, but they're all just too busy performing the roles they think they're supposed to.
And we see that performance versus tiredness theme immediately. Miriam and Caleb are focused on budgets, but Ruth The wisdom figure just cuts right through it.
She says they're so busy proving you're capable that you've forgotten to ask whether you're tired.
And that silence after she says it. That is the Mercury-Saturn demand for reality. Caleb admits he didn't think exhaustion mattered as long as the numbers were good.
They're finally recognizing the true cost.
Then we get to Thursday's mental fog. Miriam misses a meeting. Caleb tries to cover for her with these false, overly certain claims.
But that haze breaks when Mercury moves into Capricorn. Miriam gets the clarity to confess her truth. She says about her job, "I just don't want it to be the thing that decides who I am."
That's the mind reclaiming its own definition of substance. And then Chiron direct on Friday. That's Caleb's breakthrough.
Yes. He sets that frame boundary with a colleague. He just says, "I told him no. I didn't explain. I just said no."
And his realization afterwards is the key for everyone listening. He realized he'd been shrinking so people don't have to feel uncomfortable.
He stopped negotiating his right to exist just to manage someone else's feelings.
And then finally, the Saturday full moon. Miriam has that devastating realization that she learned how to carry everyone, but nobody ever taught her how to put anything down.
That is the full moon clarity right there. And the final family conversation, it's tense, it's got that moon opposite Venus and Mars feel, but it forces them to face the resentment that's been building because she was just performing competence.
So they start the year not with these grand promises, but with a shared, fragile but strong understanding of where they actually are.
And their ultimate lesson, which Ruth sums up, is the final word on this week. The goal isn't to worship wounds, it's to learn from them. It's about moving the energy of 2025 into something truly useful for 2026.
So what does this all mean for you listening? This deep dive gives us a really clear mandate for the week, connecting all the work, tell the truth, feel the feeling, and take the action.
The goal is to choose intentions for the new year that feel livable, not just impressive.
Not just aspirational.
Exactly. Progress and security have to go hand in hand this week. Your mind gets sharper, your emotional patterns get louder and clearer, and avoidance gets cornered.
We're urged to stop pretending we're fine and start aligning with what we authentically need. This whole week is about clearing out old weight so the new structures can actually hold.
Right. And this brings up a really important question for you to carry forward as you integrate all of this.
Given the focus on long-term commitment and deactivating all those habits running on autopilot, what specific pattern or storyline have you been maintaining out of fear, survival, or routine that you are now ready to let go of so the new year can truly meet you as you are? Think about where you're shrinking. We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.